and record.
Okay, can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much and welcome to the class. I'm Tanisha. I am a former MESO client and I'm also a small business owner. And as Suzanne said, we're going to be together for 4 weeks. It is always much more fun and quicker to get through when people are on camera and participate. We have a small group tonight, so instead of breakout rooms, we'll probably stay together during any of the interactions that we have. And we're going to go ahead and get started. And actually, before we do, could you take a moment to introduce yourself? Just say your name and what your business is. And if you'd like, throw your website, your social media, and all of that stuff in the chat so other business owners can connect with you and your services or products as well. And I'm just going to start by calling names. And I see, I think it's Celine on the top. Did I say that right?
Oh, hi, I'm
Hi.
Celine.
Sorry. So
I am recently going back to school and finishing my associate's degree. I've been an aspiring entrepreneur for as long as I can remember. I want to own my own bakery or restaurant cooking business and specialize in gluten-free goods and just allergen-friendly options. And so this is a step in the learning process, and I'm excited to see what I can learn.
thank you so much, Rebecca. And I'm just going in the way that I see you guys.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Rebecca. I am mental health therapist and I just started my own private practice and it's called Dynamic Therapy Alliance. And I've been in business officially for about a month.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Mignana, did I pronounce that right?
Hi, I'm Mignana Bishop, and I feel like I do a whole bunch of things, so I'm only gonna just
Probably.
focus on why I'm here today. Um, XYZ Styles is a business that I am in the process of launching, and it consists of bringing families together and teaching sewing classes and really just bringing that lost skill set back as it's really essential right now considering all these prices. So, but yeah, just around arts and crafts is what my passion is. But I have been indulging and diving more into like facilitating and just the healing components that come with arts. So that's what I'm interested in. We'll see how that all ties in together. Thank you.
Kivante, did I pronounce it correctly?
Can't hear you yet. You're not on mute. It's always a tech
I'm back
challenge
to
with
it.
Zoom.
It's okay. Marcus?
Marcus, are you there?
Yes, I am. I am Marcus Johnson. Um, I own a trading card company called Top Shelf Trading Cards. I've been in business for going on a year. June 24th, when I got my LLC. I work from home, working from trying to build a website, and hopefully by next year, I will have a brick and mortar.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Kivante, are you working again? Nope,
No,
it
we
is
still
not.
can't
That's
hear you.
okay. Just throw it in the chat if you get a second. Anita, what we're doing right now is just introducing ourselves and telling us what your business is. Short and sweet, up to you.
Okay, hi, I'm Anita. Sorry for I'm a little tardy. I'm here in my salon, so the lighting might be kind of weird because I'm trying to get a great place for to see you guys. Hopefully, you can see me. My salon is I'm a hairstylist, and my salon is Divinity Salon. It's located in Vancouver, Washington, in Hazeldale. Um, I celebrated 7 years in business. on March 18th. So I'm grateful to MESO for being there and helping me every step of the way. So yeah, I've been in the industry for 39 years in January, 39 years, licensed hairstylist. And it's something I wanted to do since I was 5 years old, and I'm now 58, and I still love it. I still love it. Yeah. So I got licensed at 19, and I'm very
Wow.
grateful to do what I enjoy doing. It's my livelihood, but it's also my passion, and I'm very grateful. I'm doing really well here in Vancouver. So thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. And then Alyssa,
Lisa.
Elisa, sorry about that.
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm actually not well today. I'm recovering from pneumonia. So I'm not going to be very interactive. I'm just going to listen because I'm dedicated and I wanted to just still show up, but I'm having a hard time today. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting us know. Take care of yourself, please.
But thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And then I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it. Is it Frantisi? Frantis?
Hi, it's Frontice. I'm not feeling well, but I didn't want to miss the tip. I I'm Frontice and I make body natural with body butter.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And yes, please take care of yourself.
I am
Oh,
super
and
impressed with your guys' dedication to being here, even though you're ill. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. We just got a new
and then
person that came in.
also, Kivante said in the chat that his business is called Smooth Collective. It's a clothing brand and a business that offers custom services as well. And he also put his website in there just in case anybody missed it. And for the new person that just joined us, all we're doing is introducing ourselves and saying our business, and it can be short and sweet. And I don't even think I'm going to try to butcher your name.
Natalia.
Okay, so I see Natalia.
So Natalia, can you introduce yourself and tell us what your business is? It's hard to know how to get the mute off. I'm thinking that when you're on your phone, it's really hard to find. Yeah, we can't hear you, Natalia.
It's okay. You can throw it in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing and jump right into it. I do always want to be respectful of your time. So let's go ahead and go. I'm going to be sharing screen one. Let me make sure I share sound. And I'm wondering, can you see my screen right now? Or what do you see? The presentation, but not in the presenter mode?
That's
Yes.
correct. We see the presentation, but not in presenter mode. And now we see the presenter mode. You need to switch at the top, the display settings.
Ah, okay.
There you go.
Actually, I think what I need to do before I get out of this is just switch screens. So give me 1 second. I apologize for the delay. I'm gonna switch screens. It had me sharing my screen.
And I just want to say that I have been, Rebecca, I have purchased the Bodide Natural Body Whip, and I love it. It is such a good product. Amazingly good. Yeah, Frantis does a great job.
Okay, so do you just see the slideshow now?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Tonight is our first class in a series of 4 for financial literacy. And we've already done our introductions, but what we're going to be focusing on tonight as far as our agenda is how values impact our decision making. We're going to look at some SMART goals, which would be short-term, long-term goals, and we're going to get into banking and taxes as just kind of the basic start of the series. And so, with this, I want you to take a little bit of time to think about what is your earliest money memory and how did that shape you? So, our relationship to money is often formed by those early examples that we encounter. Think about the habits, the patterns, and mindset you grew up with. What is that earliest memory you have? What is one thing that you think you do well when it comes to money? Are there any stories or memories that bother you around money? And this, we would kind of have a breakout room, but as I said earlier, we're such a small group. I don't think that it's necessary for us to jump out into breakout rooms. And as far as communication, please feel free to go ahead and raise your hand, throw it in the chat if you're not feeling comfortable enough to say it, but questions and stories and anecdotes are always welcome. And I'm sorry, Suzanne, I can't actually see anybody but the presenter mode in the screen. So if anybody was sharing or the chat, I just can't see it right now.
I don't have anything in the chat right now, but I'll kick it off just because my earliest money memory, I believe I was 10 years old, and my father instructed his children, all four daughters, to create a club. And our club was going to be a charitable club that raised money. And he actually told us that we needed to create a budget. So I actually remember creating a financial budget at the age of 10. Thank you, Dad. I miss you.
So I will also kind of throw in there too, one of my earliest money memories. And growing up, my parents didn't really discuss money with us. We didn't really talk about it. I knew that my dad like worked for the state of California and he got paid once a month. I knew that during the first of the month we were going to go out to eat some fast food, and that was always like something that was a treat for us. By the middle of the month, all the bills were paid. I know my dad was kind of broke at that point, and you could even just kind of feel a shift in just some of the attitude and the vibe at the house. But one of my earliest money memories, I probably had to be about a first or second grader, and my grandmother had got these roll of like 50-cent pieces, and I took one to school. And I remember I was trading them with all of the little kids for like pennies, nickels. Like I was just trading. I just had no concept of what money was. And I remember that the recess lady like pulled me aside because I was just walking around with this really big roll of 50-cent pieces in my pocket. And she called my grandmother, and it was the first time that my grandmother had ever been really, really mad at me. And I remember thinking, like, I guess just kind of negatively associating that with money. But my first instinct was just to give all the money away. And I know that that was probably not the best lesson, but we never really talked about money. So I've had some things that I've really had to kind of work through and climb out. And I feel like in my household, it was always kind of like money was seen as like the root of evil, or like rich people were bad, or wealth was not, that it was always kind of gained by like corrupt means. And so I kind of have had like, I know I need money to survive, but I also didn't learn how to handle money either.
I'll
Okay.
share.
Oh, perfect.
I have a similar experience. I feel like I've always been taught to save money, coming from the grandparents. It's like put it up, put it up. But because my mom was a single parent, I feel like the money ended up going to the things that we really needed at the time. And so like now that I'm a parent, I see myself doing the same thing, like telling my kids to save their money. And I'm realizing they're like, Mom, but you never let us spend it. So I'm trying to work on that part. But I do save their money. I don't spend their money. But I can relate to some of the context of your story. Like, growing up, I knew we needed it. I knew we needed to hang on to it, but it's gonna, I feel like I'm just working on that area of my life of allowing my kids to go in and spend their money because I typically am the one that covers everything. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing because that brought up something for me. And I feel like, so I have a 16-year, I have a junior and my son just graduated. And I feel like I have done that and I will tell them to save, but have I really given them the two sides of like saving and spending and how you actually do that in the real world? Because saving all the time isn't really helpful. But then it's like, I am buying everything. Like, oh, if we go to the store, of course they want to go to the store with me because I'm going to buy it, even though they have money. And I'm trying to break away from that because I don't know how much I'm like helping them with it. I definitely am not helping myself with that, but I think. And then you brought up something I really love that you said, oh, when their grandparents give them money, I give it to them. My parents will take that money because you're right. It would be like, nope, we need to eat tonight or the bill is due. And so I always had really mixed feelings around that, but it strongly made me give my kids their money whenever somebody else gave it to them. Because, kids be keeping track, like, oh, I got 20 from my grandmother. And then all of a sudden they want their money. And you're like, what money? That was always so devastating to me as a kid. Okay, so let's talk about the.
Can I say
Oh,
one
go
thing?
ahead. Yes,
This
please.
Marcus. So, my parents, before they passed away in 2023, taught me about credit. Credit is not talked about a lot in the Black community, in any community. But credit is always great to have. Money is good, but credit is always great. Can you talk about that?
We will, yeah, we touch on credit, and I believe it's in the second class, but then I want to ask this as like a follow-up question. Credit is so important, and I wasn't taught about it either, but I also didn't know a lot of Black households when I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s that actually had credit. They might have known about it, but they didn't. Like, I never remember my parents pulling out a credit card at all. And so I'm wondering now, thinking of that, and particularly if anybody Black wants to answer. Did your parents have credit cards growing up? Because you're right. I don't think it's talked about in the Black community, but I also don't think that we have credit cards like that. I don't know though. It could have just been my experience.
Well, before my parents passed away, my dad had like a 820. My mom had like a 790, and they always taught me like with credit, like even if you have bad credit, you can always fix it. Um, like even with me, I have like two credit cards, and I just use them and pay them off. I don't max them out. I just do like gas or food, and and it freaking helps. Like in the past 4 months, my credit jumped up to 120 points, and I only have a couple cure card for like 250 and 500, but I stay in the balance of like 50 to $100 on both of them, and I pay them off all the time. So credit is very good. Cash is okay, but credit is king always.
Mhm.
So true.
I'd like to chime in on that. I grew up in a single parent home. My twin and I are the youngest of eight, so I have a twin brother. But most of my siblings have both of our parents in the household. My parents divorced when my twin and I were 13. I got my first job back in high school. I was like maybe a junior, my junior year or senior year, I can't remember, at Myron Frank at the old school Lloyd Center.
Yes.
So,
I
and my
remember.
first experience with credit was a house card. You got a house card as an employee.
Mm.
Now, my mom talked to us about credit all the time because she knew how important that was to establish for specifically home ownership. My mom always taught us you want to own, you don't want to continue renting is great if you need to start out that way, but ultimately you need to own. And my mom owned two properties, one in New Mexico, my home state. And when we relocated to Portland, she also bought a home in Portland. We still reside in our family home in Northeast Portland, and I'm very proud to say that we are
Thank you,
survivors
Jerry.
of gentrification, and I'm very proud of that. But I had my first experience with the house card at Myron Frank, and my mom, she told me, okay, it's great. You're buying all these clothes, but when you get your paycheck, you're gonna have to hand it back over to Meyer Frank because that's credit. You can't just use it and shop on your breaks because you like the cute outfits. So that was a lesson, and it did happen a couple times. I ended up just taking my whole check to the cashier's office in the store and paying off my house card. I still had it, but I learned about credit in that way personally. So yeah, and I'm happy that I learned that at a young age because I too was able to purchase a home. In my 20s, I was married and now divorced, but had to sell that home. But I'm still in the process now of wanting to be a homeowner again because I understand, the concept of credit and establishing a good credit score and business. I'm learning that about business as well. So I'm grateful that I did grow up in a household where credit was talked about. So yeah, we weren't like, included in all the info culturally about the bills, utility bills or the mortgage but we were taught that, the essentials that it didn't come free and things needed to be taken care of and taken care of on time and that how important that was. Yeah. So I just wanted to chime in because culturally that, that is an issue and a thing. A lot of my friends didn't experience that.
Yeah, no, thank
So,
you for that because I know it takes about one or two times of having to give Meyer and French your whole paycheck before you're
Yeah.
like, no more, no more, I'm done.
I don't need any more new clothes. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Rebecca's got something in the chat. Rebecca says, there was never enough money growing up. I learned that you couldn't do as many fun things without money. So whenever I got paid as a teenager or a young adult, I would spend it all pretty quickly because I didn't know when I'd have another chance to spend money on fun things. I never learned how to save, and I was never taught about credit. Thanks for sharing
Yes.
that, Rebecca.
I was the same way like that too, Rebecca. Just like when I was in school, I was like just giving the money out because you're right. That's such a thing where it's like, you know what? I want to have a good time with my friends. And if nobody has taught you, you just don't get it. So let's talk about the reality of just where we are, right? Money is deeply personal.
Can
And
I say one more
sometimes
thing?
oh, please
Can I say,
do.
Oh,
can I say one more thing?
Yes.
So
please.
even with these banks, they don't tell you either. It's
Mhm.
always great to be with a credit union instead of either like either these other banks. Credit unions are the best banks to be with. Just
Absolutely.
putting it out there. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's
Uh,
so true. And you're right. Go ahead, Susan. What'd you say?
I was going to say, Tanisha, Celine also has something in the chat. Says money was always an issue in my family and led my parents to divorce. Yeah, the number one reason
Number
for
one,
divorce in the United States is
money.
finances.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I was made to feel like a burden for how expensive I was growing up,
Mhm.
but was never taught how to manage my own finances. I have had my fair share of lessons learned over the years. You guys, thank you so much
Absolutely.
for sharing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and it does, and it just goes back to like money is deeply personal, and I can't say most of us, but some of us have had a traumatizing experience around that, particularly what you said, Celine, when it's like, you just have basic needs, and the world is expensive, and your parents are stressed out, and all of the things that can be very traumatizing, and it definitely has an impact on your relationship with money. And just to point out, since we are there, if there's anything that just kind of becomes a little triggering for you, please take care of yourself. Please take a break. We don't ask that it's not mandatory that you're on camera. We like it, but if you feel like you need, whatever the case may be, just make sure you take care of yourself because there can be, we've just all had ups and downs in our financial judgment. I'm sorry, our financial journey. And there's no shame or judgment in this class. As we get into it, I tend to share a lot of the story that, just I'm 42 and a lot of things that I've gone through financially. I filed bankruptcy more than one time. I'm a homeowner now. So it does just take time. And again, there's no judgment and no shame in this class. So We also want to acknowledge that, the system is not fair and it is working almost exactly as it's designed to work. So, financial incentives like mortgage, interest, tax breaks, generational poverty, mass incarceration, economic and social trauma all impact how we manage our money. And we want to spend time together just kind of thinking about our personal money stories and let go of any judgment, shames, or any negative beliefs around money. I also know just as adults, we learn from each other. So if you're brave, and again, I really appreciate all of the people that have decided to share. Please feel free to go ahead and share during class. Again, I feel like most of us appreciate it, finding just relatability in that. Most of us have been through similar situations and we can learn from each other through negative and positive stories. So that being said, I just want to caution people that, this needs to be a safe place and we need to respect privacy. So like with AA, please take the story, but leave the details and the personal names to yourself if you're sharing, because again, we can all grow and share from others people's stories. But please respect other people's privacy just as much as you would want your privacy to be respected. And again, some of this will not ring true for everybody. We all have different lived experiences, so feel free to reject anything that doesn't sit well with you or doesn't kind of, resonate in that way. So let's think about some things that you do good with money. From this list that we have here, there are a couple of good questions to kind of help you identify where you are in your money situation. So, do you know your relationship with money? Do you pay all your bills on time? Do you know your credit score? Do you have an emergency saving? These are just a really great foundation of financial literacy for you in particular, right? Like, do you know these things that are going on in your financial life right now? Uh, Periodically, we kind of stop and just ask questions again. Feel free to speak when you want to speak. So, I just want everybody to take a little bit of time to think about all of the things on this list that you see right now that you do have. If you feel comfortable, throw it in the chat. Out of, the 6 things, how many of them are you doing really well at? Which ones do you want to work at? I definitely always say I want to know how to invest. That is always number one. I feel like I'm always working on keeping an emergency savings and maintaining emergency savings with everything that just kind of gets thrown at you at life. Does anybody want to share where they are or their score or throw it in the chat? All right, so this is the financial literacy series. This is the overview. And like I said, there's 4 classes. So tonight we're focusing on you and your money, who you are, why you spend the way you spend, and briefly we're going to touch on the banking and taxes. The next class, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of credit, right? And debt reduction and just techniques on how you can make your credit work for you and how you can reduce your debt. And then we have spending pots you need. So like savings, and emergency savings, investments, and insurance. And last, we kind of bring it all together. And it'll be like by the end of it, you should have some goals and a financial plan on, just your income, your spending, budget, cash flow, and kind of putting that all together. This class does cover a lot. It's 8 hours. There'll be times, you might need to follow up with Google or just your MESO advisor. If you don't have a MESO advisor or perhaps a HUD certified housing counselor, please let Suzanne know and she'll be able to help you with that. All right, let's start to think about some of the things that we value. Let's start out at just the beginning, that is knowing what our relationship with money is. Our goal in this class will be to examine how we want to live financially, and then at the end, evaluate if we're being true to ourselves. So let's just kind of start with the little vision exercise. Can everybody see the words on the page, or do you need me to read them, or do you feel like pretty good about seeing them?
I can see them pretty clearly, even in a small amount. What I don't know is if the people on their phones can see it clearly.
Okay. Can you just raise your hand if you cannot see it?
That's a good way to put it.
And okay, don't see any raised hands. Let's get back to it. So, what I want you to do right now is just kind of think about this is your vision and kind of like a money journal. So I want you to be clear and intentional and just kind of have create a document to track your answers throughout the series. And at the end, like I said, we should have a short-term goal and a long-term financial goal. And just like some things I want you to think about, like what is your vision for your future? And dream big, right? What can money do for your life right now and in the future? Who and how can you help those around you and your greater community? What kind of lifestyle, passions do you have? Do you donate? Do you have charities? What's in your vision? Do you want to leave stuff to your or financial foundation to your loved ones? What matters to you? And let's say what maybe the top 5 to 7 values that you have surrounding money. And we're just gonna, again, this would be a breakout room, but let's just take 2 to 3 minutes and see. And if the word, if a value is not on the list, please feel free to add it in for yourself. But just take some time to think about 5 to 7 money values that you do have. Does anybody want to share their money values or put them in the chat or I guess those are the only 2 options.
It's interesting. We've been teaching this class for a while, and I realize I've actually never done this exercise. It's like, security, education. It says equality, but I'm going to say equity, and building generational wealth, not just for
That's a good one.
myself, but for people around me as well.
Yes. Right.
I'm going to say financial responsibility. It kind of covers a few areas. I don't see that on there as I'm trying to go through, but it resonates with me.
Good. Okay. I don't see it on
Definitely
here
doesn't
either.
have to be on the list.
It doesn't.
These are just suggestions that we came up with.
Yeah, the closest I see up there is financial security, and maybe that's maybe not really the same, but it doesn't have to be on the list. It's just whatever resonates with you, whatever your dreams are, whatever you value the most when it comes to, money in your life.
In the chat, Rebecca's got generosity, equality, sincerity, education, and empowerment.
I like that.
A goal of mine is financial freedom. So
I
just
feel
putting it
that.
out there.
So, lock in on that one. Okay, that'll be the goal because I love that.
Put it in the universe.
Yes. Okay, let's go to that next one. Oh, so this is now that we're back from our breakout rooms, but we did not do breakout rooms. Okay. What type of person are you? We've looked at our personal values now, and we want to answer the question, why is money important to you? Right. So have you ever do you ever hear people say, oh, I'm type A, and that traditionally would mean like a perfectionist. They say impatient, but I don't know about that one. Competitive, work obsessed, achievement oriented, aggressive, or kind of stressed. Does anybody know what type they are? Has anybody heard of anything other than type A or B?
I'm definitely type A.
Okay. I think a lot of us are. Does anybody consider themselves type B? And that
Um,
would, okay. Okay.
oh, my bad.
Rebecca's a type. Go ahead, Marcus.
I'm more of a type C. I think about everything that I do, even when I talk, I think. So I'm more of a thinker, and I'm more of a planner, and I get that from my mom. So yeah, I'm more the wheels are always rolling with me. So yeah.
I like that. I had never really kind of heard of type C. I just always heard of type A growing up. And just for anybody that's not aware, I can say for type B, we would call that low stress, even-tempered, flexible, creative, adaptable to change, patient with a tendency to procrastinate. And for type C would be highly conscientious, perfectionist, struggle to reveal emotions, positive or negative. Type D is feelings of worry, sadness, irritability, pessimistic outlook, negative self talk, avoidance of social situations, a lack of self confidence, a fear of rejection, appearing gloomy and hopeless. Does that kind of help put some stuff into perspective a little bit for people kind of figuring out what type they are?
Kivanti says type B.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Okay, so now you know what kind of person you are. What is your money personality? Knowing yourself will help you understand how you approach money, why you make the decisions that you do, and if you want to change the way money performs in your life, knowing your money personality will help you make meaningful and long-lasting changes, if that's what you want. Right. So looking at these different kind of personalities, when you examine yourself, you can kind of start to see some patterns. For instance, if you're an accumulator or a saver, you might be able to identify a time when you are being overly frugal and identify if this is healthy for you. Your money personality is usually shaped by a combination of how you grew up and some personal traits that you already have. Right. And now, I mean, no one fits something 100%. Like you could be a combination of a couple of these different type of personalities. And when we look at it, let's say a big spender, as their name implies, they like to spend money in a significant way. They don't fear debt, which can get them into trouble, or often take risks to earn more money. Let's say that you are a saver. I'm sorry, did we do that? Yeah, savers. Savers are the exact opposite. They're naturally frugal and make mindful purchase decisions, even when it handicaps them to do so. Right? We've all met somebody that is just so cheap, so frugal that you're like, oh man, does that kind of hurt sometimes where, they feel guilty sometimes just about doing something nice for themselves. But generally, they have no debt. They're pretty conservative in the way that they like to spend and save, like saving money, and don't take a lot of risks with their investment. They may have achieved financial freedom from a number of perspectives, but don't feel that they have that. And they may never really reach that kind of retirement or that feeling of security. Then we have some shoppers, right? Shoppers often develop great emotional satisfaction from spending money. They can't resist spending, even if it's to buy items they don't need. But it is a bonus if that item is on sale, right? They are similar to big spenders, yet are aware of their addiction and are more concerned about the debt. Or I'm sorry, and are even concerned about the debt that it creates. Better money management is something they aspire to, but sometimes things just get in the way of that. Um, then there's the debtors, right? Debtors don't spend money to impress. They just don't spend much time thinking about their money and therefore don't keep tabs on what they spend and where they spend it. They may even miss easy opportunities to make money as they didn't notice them. And then we have the investors. Investors are consciously aware of money. They understand their financial situation and try to put their money to work, like a retirement plan. Their actions are usually driven by careful decision making. They want to be smart and strategic and grow their wealth. They may have a financial advisor and consider investing key to building prosperity and reaching their financial goals. And then there's some, again, everybody doesn't always fit completely into these categories. We can be a combination, a mix. Does anybody know what their money personality is or would like to share?
I will.
Thank you.
Um, I'm more of a B and a E. Um, I was always taught growing up, if you can't buy it 3 times, then it's not really worth it. But it's a give and take for that. Like if I see shoes, like I'm a big sneakerhead. I go out to the Nike store all the time, and it's like, is it worth getting it, or can I get my investment back from even reselling it, or wearing it, or whatever? But I'm more of an investor. I love to invest my money and make it grow for me as I'm trying to start my business.
Is there an ideal amount that you have in mind that would make you feel secure as a saver, an investor, where you kind of go, okay, I can chill out a little bit. I've met my goal.
I will never feel that way because I would love to give back, and money is always printed every day. So, and the more money you make, there's 4 people out there in the world that want to take it from you. So there's really no correct answer for that.
Mm-mm.
That was the
No,
correct
not at
answer.
all. Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's whatever feels great. And actually it brings us kind of into our next slide, and it is, what is your money mindset? So your personality is your approach to money. And here we're looking at your mindset. Again, you most likely don't fall under just one category. And in some cases, you will actually find that, some of your personalities can conflict with itself, right? So let's say, a money avoidance, right? If you are a money avoider, you believe that you do not deserve money. They may believe that the wealthy people are greedy or corrupt. That was definitely like kind of taught in my household when I was younger. Like it was looked down upon. So I do kind of have some of that mindset. They don't often think that there's virtue in living with less money. Money avoidance can be associated with trying not to think about money. These kind of thinkers may ignore financial statements. Money avoiders may even sabotage their own financial success by being bad with credit or making poor financial decisions. And then on the other side of that, we will have a money worshiper. A money worshiper feels that money is the key to all happiness and can solve any and all problems. And this mindset leads people to believe that money is the end goal. They are left with an empty void in the quest for like accumulating wealth as rapidly as possible. And there's never enough money that like kind of will meet their ever-changing needs, right? Money worship takes retail therapy to heart by seeking to buy new things, right? To bring a new sense of happiness, purpose, and meaning. The problem is money just can't buy those things. And their large spending habits ends up kind of really leaving them miserable and in debt. Then we have money for status, right? Closely linked to money worship. Money status confuses net worth with self-worth. A perfect example is a big spender who believes in keeping up with the Joneses mentality. People overspend to maintain their lifestyle that they can't afford to kind of impress others. We've all, seen that coming up on TV, even in our personal lives. And they end up just getting into a lot of credit card debt. And then there is money vigilance. This involves people approaching their financial lives with swift, practicality, logic, and thoughtfulness. They're driven by a need of security. Money vigilant means people view money as a byproduct of hard work, discipline, safe investing, and frugality. I'm sorry, this is so frugality. This script is considered the most financially stable and healthy of the four, yet money vigilance can sometimes lead to fear of one's financial future, which, can lead to anxiety and a lack of balance between your spending and savings. They are in essence a security seeker, also wanting to keep track of things to know that they're on the right path. Okay. Perfect. And then the money giver. I think this was definitely me on the playground. Is quick to give away what they have, generously rescuing others, particularly with family and whoever they care about, right? They're just a giver, give you the shirt off their back. A giver is charitable and selfless, and they often don't have boundaries. And sometimes that can be a sacrifice on their own financial health when they are overdoing it with helping others. And then that brings us to money free spirit. Money isn't a priority. Money helps you enjoy the moment. Free spirits are spontaneous and they can be impulsive. They tend to have faith that others will provide for them. They don't feel the need to conform or keep up with the Joneses. It's just, what happens is going to happen, and they just are free spirited. Knowing your money personality really shouldn't be the end all pronouncements, or I'm sorry, yes, all pronouncements on how you feel about how you use money. It's just another item in your toolbox to help you understand your relationship with money and get a little bit closer to having money. Um, does anybody kind of pinpoint it down what their money mindset is? Or has anybody noticed that they had one particular money mindset when they were younger and now they're different? And what was the change?
So, in 2022, day after my birthday, I broke my phone. I went over to Verizon and I made an expensive purchase that after I made it, I regretted it. I spent almost 3,000 at Verizon, and I was on my mom's plan, and she was going to kill me because I bought a fold, the Samsung Fold phone, the watch, everything. I bought everything, and that was like one. That was one of the worst things that I could have ever done. But I needed a phone, and they sold me on something. Like they sold me on a dream. I was like, you know what? I just bought into it.
No, Verizon really does be playing with you. Every time I go in there, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get the most basic, and I always walk out like, why did I do this? But I do love my Galaxy Z Fold, so I don't know, Marcus. I think you got the best
I,
phone
I,
out there.
hey, I love mine too because when I first got it, it opened people up to me. And then start talking about like, oh, do this, do that, like the increase on the phone. I love it. Like I went trade it for the world, but it was the most like one of the most expensive purchases. Like not even I didn't even use my credit card. I just paid this cash. My mom like, you didn't use your credit card? Like no. She's like that was stupid, but you know what? I paid for it and I learned from it.
Yeah. And it's almost like I think with phones now, it's so set up in a way that what else can you do? Like, I mean, they intentionally kind of slow some of the phones down. You kind of have to upgrade. But you're right, there are probably other options.
And see
So
about
would
this, my bad. And see about this, everybody needs a phone now because there's no more
you do
payphone. There's no more
That's
you
right.
need a
payphone.
phone?
You can't
That's
find a
right.
payphone nowhere.
Mm-mm, at all. So do you feel like that was you? What money mindset did you have in that moment?
Um, I wanted to be the first person with this phone in Portland, and I didn't
Badass.
care. I wanted to like flex on everybody. Like, look what kind of phone I got when I was like, no one cares.
Well, I
But yeah.
care. I just want you, I do care. Okay. Um, okay, I'm gonna get us to the next one. So goals. Goals are your motivation, right? So we've looked at our values, our money personality, our money mindset. Now we can use that personal insight to create a goal. And I know that you probably already just have financial goals and personal goals, business goals already. So just think of like during our series, one short term and one long term goal that you kind of want to work into the series over the next 4 weeks. Uh, they're going to be there are going to be a couple key things I'm hoping that you do take away from these classes. And one of them is to make goals, have big dreams. Your goals are the motivator that help you create and stick to your financial plan, right? So life often gets in the way of thinking about your goals. You might be too busy, too poor, too bored, too stressed. And with just the way that the world is now, a lot of us are having a natural reaction to the things that are going on, and it's a lot. But I want you to think back to your values. Are there things you can dream about that will satisfy one of those important values? Your goals can be, again, long-term, long-term and short-term. And what are they? I love a good visual. I like to tape like my vision board. I make a vision board all like every year. I like to do it and just kind of tape it to my bathroom door because I'm going in and out of it. I'm always seeing them, and while I might not always be like stuck looking right at it, that constant reminder of those visuals do really tend to keep me on track. And what I like to do is like tear off whatever the picture is I taped up there after I've accomplished that goal. And this is Scarlett Cochran. She's the founder of One Big Happy Life and a vision board that she created to help her. And this is a vision board she created to help her stay on track. This board she created in 2020. And at the time, she hadn't written a book, but in February, that book was published. And by the way, if anybody does not know, the Libby app and your local library has the book available, but there's also a ton of things that you can do at the library. They offer a lot of resources too. If you had not checked them out, you should. And so next we're gonna look at SMART goals. I'm sure that, or let me stop there. How many people know what SMART goals are? Please just go ahead and raise your hand if you do know what a SMART goal is.
Rebecca does, Mignana does.
Awesome. Okay. And so I'll just kind of touch on this briefly. I'm sure we've all at some point had a SMART goal or been taught or it's been taught to us. So that the acronym sometimes does look different. Sometimes it's SMART, the R is for relevant and the T is for time bound. That there's different kind of little words they put for it, but it all kind of comes back to the same thing, right? Um, Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. The acronym is only there to help you remember that goals should be something you can accomplish, right? So let's just take a look at this example of a SMART goal. We have somebody that the SMART goal is to buy a car with cash. Very specific that they want to save $12,000 in 48 months to purchase their car with financing. Super clear, totally know what the goal is. How are they going to measure that goal? Well, they kind of already built it in, right? If they're saving this money, let's say they're either putting cash in a mattress or in a savings account, and they're going to be able to track that progress monthly, and they've already done the math, right? So if they save $250 a month in a savings account, that will get them to the 12,000 they need in the 48 months. Is this achievable depending on their budget? They were able to make this goal work like this, then yeah, it's achievable, right? It's something that they have been able to analyze their income, their expenses, and identify where things can be reduced or where they can, increase income to be able to hit that 250 mark a month for 48 months. Very realistic goal of buying a car with cash, and it probably aligns with the money goal or a money value that wants to avoid debt in any kind of way. And great, right? The timeline is up there, super easy. It's 48 months from today's date. So this is just a basic SMART goal. And we can even say this is like a short-term medium goal, right? So does everybody understand what SMART goals are? And we do.
So,
Go. Let me go
so
back.
so I'm gonna give you a little jewel. So, with
Okay.
buying cars, right? What I do is like, to build my credit with buying cars, I will put 85 to 90% down, and then I would have a balance of like 1,000 to 2,000. So I pay like a hundred or 200 a month, and then it helped me build my credit while I'm purchasing that car, and not just letting niggas all 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 cash.
I've done it the kind of similar but different. So what I will do is I'll put no money down, pay on it for a few months, and then we'll refinance with a large down payment, pay it off or something like. But what you're saying is the fact that it's just going to be on your credit, you're making those payments on time, no matter how you do it, just paying those payments on time and having it on your credit is such a great boost to your credit when it comes to building credit with a car specifically.
And another thing is, never go to the dealership. Go to your bank first. That's how they get you.
Amen.
That's how they get you.
Very
Go to your
true.
bank.
Come in with the money already.
Yeah, yes.
So this
Right.
actually is a SMART goal that I personally had. And I actually literally within the last 3 weeks have purchased a brand new car. To me, never buy a brand new car in personal for me personally. But I was able to save this amount of money so that when it looked like the tariffs were going to significantly increase car prices, and we knew we were going to need a car it, soon, we went out and bought in cash, 100% cash with $11,000. So it was just we had it, we did it, and I had planned for it, and now I've got a really cool electric car. It's like a lot cooler
Awesome.
than I thought it was going to be.
You
I
should not have
didn't.
done that. You should not have done that. It's a bad choice.
Yeah, no,
Well,
my credit is 845, so I
that's
don't
Oh,
need
oh,
to
oh,
improve
oh,
my
oh, oh, oh,
credit
oh,
not
oh, oh,
anymore.
then you good then. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You good. My bad. I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. I was about to say, Marcus, hold up. In class 3, you're going to see her credit report. Don't worry about it. She's good.
You'll be like, what the?
Don't worry about it. Suzanne got it. I was about to say, we were talking about it, and I ended up buying cash, but I ended up getting an older car and not electric because my credit ain't working the way hers is. So I didn't do it. You're right, Marcus. But Suzanne's good. And then we're going to show another goal here. Sorry, let me get back to the slide. Perfect. So here's another SMART goal. This is specifically towards business, right? And the goal is to increase monthly sales by 10% in half a year, so 6 months. This person has said, this is very specific. It's measurable. They can track this just by doing their books and looking over however it is they manage the revenue and revenue and expenses of their business. So, is it achievable? They've implemented a targeted marketing strategy and offers promotions to drive the sales. It seems very doable, seems very achievable. I think this is probably a goal of a lot of businesses. Is it realistic? For 6 months, they want to give themselves their sales go up by 2% every month. Totally doable. And they want to achieve that total 10% increase in sales revenue within 6 months. Okay, so here we're going to just look at short-term and long-term goals, and I'm sure that you guys have a pretty good understanding of this. Um, so here we have two kind of definition of what these goals are, right? The second one, I'm sorry, thinking about the two goals that we had, would you consider them short-term or long-term goals based off of what you see here? Would you consider purchasing a car within 48 months a long-term goal or a short-term goal? Let's say long, because 48 months I think is like 4 years, if I'm kind of doing that math right. The first goal is going to take us 4 years to save enough cash to buy a car without financing. I would consider that a long-term goal. And just in general, long-term goals are bigger and often need short-term goals in place to kind of make that larger goal work, the long-term goal. So for instance, in order to save 250 a month, we have to increase sales by 10%. You can use that short-term goal to stay active and keep you motivated in your long-term goals to provide purpose and direction. So why does it matter? Well, you can think long-term goals as being made up of just the really big things that you want to accomplish, right? So, what are some long-term goals and short-term goals that you guys kind of have been thinking about working on, have in mind that you'd like to focus on during the class? I could say my like long-term goal is I just really want to live a life of leisure. And when I mean by like I don't need to be rich, I don't need to have like some crazy amount of money. I just really want to be able to kind of get by in a way of having the convenience of doing what I want when I want, right? So that's is the biggest goal for me, a life of just like great health, travel, comfortability, and some convenience would be the ultimate for me. Does anybody want to share a short or a long-term goal that they have?
So my long-term goal was originally to purchase a house, which I did. So now my
Congratulations.
long-term goal is to work on it, to fix on it. So it shifted a little bit.
Yes.
And I do have short-term goals. They would be long-term goals, but I have things in place to expedite it. So like paying off my car, which if I would have stuck with the original loan, but I was able to find gigs and ways to earn money over the summer. So it's going to be a short-term goal. Just using some of that strategic planning.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
Rebecca's got a short-term goal, which is near and dear to my heart. So short-term goal to get braces for my daughter in the next 2 years. Long-term goal to buy a house in the next 5 years. Buying a house is the number one way that people that are not in the 1%, the upper crust, top 1% make money in the United States is by building equity in our homes. And I want to mention this. So when I first started teaching this type of class, I'm going to say 8 years ago, that was my short-term goal was to save money for my kids' braces. And I literally had a little piece of paper that I kept in my wallet that said, don't spend this money because you're saving money for your kids' braces. Both of my kids needed braces. It was really painful.
And yeah, I ended up getting braces in my early 30s, and it was sure I didn't wear my retainer long enough, but that's another
Oh.
story. I know I got to do it again. Anyway, so I want to just wanted to throw something in the chat too. I know that homeownership was coming up, and I will put it in the chat just about some resources. Portland Housing Center is a really good resource if you're looking to buy a house, and I will put that in the chat after we get back from break.
And
And
African American Housing Association.
yep.
Yes.
So you can double up. They don't like to work together, but you can get them to work together. And that's how you really make
Mm,
just putting it out there.
that's great advice. Yes. Okay. So right now it's about 7:08. Do you guys want to take about a 5 minute
Yeah.
break? We're about halfway through, and again, I don't want to keep you guys very late. So do you want to come back? Let's say, what's 12? No, 13. Right now the time, do you guys 7:13?
It's a basic math.
Look, it went all the way over my head, but I thought 7 and 5 is 12, so it's 13. Essentially, let's say 14 because I've talked enough.
All
So
right.
come back at 7:14.
7:14. We'll see y'all. Have a great bio break.
Hey, is everyone back? I think so. All right, let's move into some banking. And just a quick check, if you have a banking account, checking, savings, go ahead and throw a one in the chat. Um, how many people know their banker? How many people actually have talked to somebody, has a name, is comfortable with their banker, or even asking their bank questions? How many people know the services that their bank offers to help with financial planning and things like. And credit unions are great. If you have the opportunity to do a credit union, by all means, go for it. I see that Suzanne is very familiar with her banker. Love that. Um, do you, with your bank, do you use your mobile app? Do you use your mobile app? Does your bank have a mobile app? Most of them do by this time. And how do you use that mobile app? Do you use it to keep track of your finances? Do you get alerts, fraud alerts, things like that? How kind of comfortable with you are your banking app? And let's kind of just get into some practical things with the banking advice first. About 4.5% of Americans are unbanked. And if you are and if you are someone you know is unbanked because of having an item in like the check system, that can be a reason why you can rehab those past due debts, usually overdraft fees, and become banked again. If anybody needs help with that, go ahead and let us know. Banking has become so sophisticated, and for small business owners, using your bank for all of its, like, really use it for all its bells and whistles. It can make your life easier, and it can also improve profitability with your business and just in your personal finances as well. And we're not going to get into how POS systems can like integrate with your bank in this class, but they can. And the first tip we have here is to get to know your banker. It's a really good way to find out what your bank does offer. You'd be surprised sometimes. Bankers are obligated by law to help you with your banking questions. I've spoken with dozens of bankers, and the number one piece of advice is to talk to them. If they don't respond or answer questions, talk to someone else. And if they don't, that might not be the best bank for you, right? If you currently use your bank's mobile app, please throw a one in the chat. If you've talked to the banker, please also throw a one in the chat. I don't know how that will distinguish it. But let's utilize the chat. So your bank's mobile app, for all of its worth, mobile apps have become really sophisticated and pretty user friendly. And they usually have a bunch of bells and whistles. You can better know where your money is, move it around, separate it in accounts, monitor for ID theft. I don't know how many times this happened to you guys. It happens to me if I'm like traveling and don't let my bank know, they'll put a freeze on my account. And sometimes I can like clear it through the app, but sometimes I have to call them. But it's a really, really great way for identity kind of theft or people getting into your stuff. MESO had a class prepared by a number of bankers, and one banker mentioned that since COVID, she's seen more scams than in all of the 30 years of her banking experience before COVID. And the scammers are getting much more creative. Plus, they have AI tools. So, how many of you have been affected by some kind of bank scam in the last 2 years? Or even since COVID, have you noticed any upticks in that?
I know I get
Um,
a scam request, it feels like daily, either
oh,
through email or text. It's crazy.
oh my God, I totally forgot about what just happened with me and the miso thing a few months ago with
That's right.
it's not funny. I'm gonna run through this story super quick, but I got like some text, and I'm a miso client. I'm a former miso client. I'm a miso employee. I got some text, and I think they weren't coming from you, but it was
It was
coming
from
from
Kobe. It was coming from Kobe,
It was from
supposedly,
who is the
our
former
executive
ED of
director.
me. Yes. And they were like, yeah, we just need you to go out and buy some gift cards. We want to appreciate the staff. Girl, and they were like, yeah, just go to Target, get these Apple gift cards. We need about 700 of them. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, interesting. I'll go, I mean, I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna help out. But like, who's gonna pay for this? So I'm like literally texting them, get all the way to the Target. I live in the Delta Park area, go to the gym. And I didn't happen to have Kobe's number, but I called Suzanne. I was like, yeah, I totally don't mind getting these gift cards for you, but how do you want me to pay for them? And she was like, stop right now. And even the purse, they were texting me and they were like walking me through all of it. And I was like, so what money how do you want me to buy these? And they're like, oh, just get them and we'll pay you back. That happened to me just a few months ago. And I just feel it's so easy to get scammed now. And I'm pretty tech savvy. Like I literally thought this was coming from the ED, that nothing was off about it until I started asking for the money to pay for it. Um, so be careful with scams. Anyways, all this discussion of mobile apps brings up um, the last tip, which, and I personally, me feel like automating is a luxury. And that is actually a goal for me to be able to automate all of my things and not really have to worry about it. But I feel like you have to be in such a good financial place to know, like, hey, this to not be able to think about it. So good tip is really automating where you can. It makes it less like, you're not going to forget any payments. Um, and it'll just really make everything run smoother for you. So if you can automate, though this doesn't happen as much anymore, sometimes payments take a while before they're processed through your account. So knowing exactly how much you not only have in your account, but also how many outstanding kind of bills you have will, prevent any headaches. And just as a bonus tip, using a bank credit card instead of a debit card will give you some protections. If your debit card is accessed illegally, or even if you buy something that is falsely described or advertising, you kind of have little recourse. But with the credit card companies, they have policies to reverse those charges, cancel those payments, and it kind of just gives a little bit of an extra layer of protection.
Mignana's got her hand
Oh,
raised.
go ahead, Mignon.
For my experiences is these game systems with the kids. And like you'll say yes. And I remember looking up at my Nordstrom credit card and my son charged $500. He was like
Mhm,
7. And I know there's so many stories like that, but I
mhm.
wasn't in position for that at all. So luckily we were able to get it reimbursed. But then like as an adult, I might say, hey, I want these vitamins. I don't have a lot of time to get to the store. I'm working nonstop. So I order the vitamins and then I'm happy with them. And maybe they're 40, $50. And the next thing you know, in a couple months, I get more vitamins and then I'm being charged
Mhm.
double. And then when you try to cancel, you can't cancel. So,
That's right.
so they are struggles.
And I
Yeah,
feel
they're
like that
real.
is all by design because I mean, I almost had to strangle my daughter. She was calling Korea like nobody's business, talking about, oh, I didn't know it cost money. Girl, what do you mean you didn't know? But I grew up with phones. They don't understand. They don't even know what long distance calling is. But I just feel like they should have protected
Yeah.
just parents in that way, because as our kids got super tech savvy, like just being able to put a pen on something before you can make a purchase would have been much more. But it is so easy for kids to pick up a device and just hit. They don't even know what they're doing sometimes, or again, don't understand the concept and is like, "Oh, this is just going to come to my house."
Right.
I digress. So let's get into
Um, I
some.
want to
Oh,
tell you, hold
good.
on just a sec. In the chat, we had a bunch of people talking about where they stood with their banks. Marcus is a super banker and does all the above. It looks like almost everyone, Alfina, Celine, um, also use their mobile app, which is awesome. And then Celine has a really cool point here that OnPoint helped her when she got scammed after COVID. So that's good to know that OnPoint helped you out there, Celine. Okay. Oh,
Yeah, the
and
scam.
Miana says Navy Federal. I use all credit unions. Yeah, I use credit
Yeah.
union too.
Navy Federal comes up, I think, in class 3. I bank with me. I'm a
Yeah.
veteran. Yeah, I'm a veteran and I bank with Navy Federal too. They just kind of got a slap on the wrist. And we'll talk about it later,
We'll talk
but
about
credit unions are great. All right, let's jump into some tax myths. Because the tax system in the United States is so like complicated and confusing, especially compared to other countries and nations, I often feel like it's gambling. Will I or won't I get money back this year? Well, yeah, what does that look like when I don't have dependents? Just the taxes are not always kind of just first nature to us, and I don't know why they don't really teach it to us in high school where I feel like they should. But let's just take a quick little quiz to see where we are in taxes, tax knowledge. So the first question, you're liable for mistakes on your taxes, even if you had a tax professional prepare them for you. True or false?
Put a T or an F in the chat. True or false? You're liable for mistakes on your tax return, even if you had a tax professional prepare them for you. True or false? We got a true, a true, a true, a true. Oh, we got a false with Anita. All right.
Actually, that is true. So, you signed off on the taxes, so you're responsible for their accuracy. Some professionals may refund you for the errors, but they're not obligated to do so. And I know that there's like TurboTax and H&R Block will say we protect you from audit and all those things, and you have to pay extra for that. I've never had to utilize that. I don't know anyone that has, and what that actually looks like if you do need them to kind of step in and help you with that. But I will say that Oregon has audited me before. Oregon has been like, nope, we're going to change that over just a little small amount. And they will be like, no, we paid you a little too much. We're taking that money back. Has anybody else ever been audited by Oregon on their return? I feel like Oregon is very, very picky. Not feds, but the state.
Mignana says yes.
They just talk about Oregon anyway. Next question. There is a tax disadvantage to making too much money because you're taxed at a higher rate. True or false? And like Suzanne said, a T in the chat for true, F in the chat for false.
We got a true, a true. Both, Marcus says, true. All right.
Answer is false. So
I know, right? This
Okay.
one is always mind-blowing.
And we're gonna watch a little bit of a video a little later to kind of explain it a little more. Marginal tax bracket. I'm
Can I
sorry,
say
what'd you
something
say?
real quick?
Please.
Yeah, go
Say
for
real
it.
quick. So I said both because before my parents passed away, my mom owned a tax business, and
Hmm.
it's kind of a slippery slope with it. It all depends too on the higher bracket you are. That's why I said both. So that's why. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, thank you. So marginal tax brackets are one of the most confusing aspects of the tax system. So to make tax brackets a little clearer, we're gonna again watch a little video, and let's go ahead and I apologize for this, but I do have
Ads.
ads. Yes.
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet,
Hey, this
this is
guy's
dope.
nice. He's a new ad. We haven't seen him before.
I think it also
Now,
too
this whole
it
flow is
shows.
I want to explain to you how tax brackets work in the USA. So let's say that you make $100,000 a year. This pile of money represents $100,000. So let's get this organized by tax brackets. So you're looking at a total of $100,000. In the first pile of money is $11,000. In the second pile, $33,725. Third pile, $50,650. And the fourth pile, $4,625. The reason why I'm showing you this $100,000 organized into these 4 piles is because that's how tax brackets work. So you see, the first $11,000 that you make will be taxed at 10%. The next $33,725 that you make will be taxed at a rate of 12%. The next $50,650 that you make will be taxed at a rate of 22%. The next $4,625 that you make will be taxed at a rate of 24%. So in this example, if you have $100,000 of taxable income, you're going to pay total taxes of $17,400. So your effective tax rate is 17.4%. That's $17,400 in taxes divided by $100,000 of taxable income. So this is how tax brackets work. A lot of people incorrectly believe that if you make $100,000 a year and you're in the 24% tax bracket, then you're going to end up paying $24,000 in taxes. So no, that is incorrect. Only the money in the 24% tax bracket will be taxed at a rate of 24%. So if you're right at the border of a tax bracket, don't be afraid to cross into the higher one because only the additional money that you make will be taxed at that higher rate.
Is that
Okay.
clear?
Yeah, just throw a one in the chat if that made sense and it's kind of helped you understand tax brackets a little better if you didn't already.
Mignana says W-4 with more than one job is very confusing. Celine put a 1. Mignana put a 1. Yes, taxes are extremely confusing. Kivanti put a 1.
Probably on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Wait.
I don't know why this is happening.
There.
Yeah, it took me. That's interesting. I think it had a duplicate of the slide. Okay, back to the quiz. You can be jailed for not paying your taxes. T or F in the chat.
Mignana says, I don't know. Honest answer. Anyone else got a stab at this one? Can you be jailed for not paying your taxes? It is a bit of a trick question, I admit.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Guessing F.
You can be jailed for not paying your child support. So I just feel like I don't know.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
True. If you cannot afford to pay your taxes, the IRS is not going to send you to jail. However, you can face jail time if you commit tax evasion or tax fraud.
Yep. And we don't have poorhouse jails anymore, but
kind of. We just don't call it that anymore, I guess.
right.
Yeah. So number 4, the IRS mostly audits people making over $1 million. True or false? T for true, F for false, in the chat, please.
Mignana says false. Ranti says false. Anita says false. Marcus says both.
Look at Marcus with the right answers. Okay, Marcus. So, and oh wait, I'm sorry, my slide is.
Let me take this one on because
Okay.
It changes. So when we first started doing this class, the answer was that people making over $1 million were audited at less than people who were getting earned income tax credit. And then we had the Biden administration, which came in and sort of changed things. And then millionaires were actually getting audited more. However, now we have a new administration, and guess where that administration went with this? Now it looks like this big, beautiful bill that just is being talked about all the time right now. It actually is going to increase the audits on people who have earned income tax credits and decrease those audits on multimillionaires. Crazy, right?
Yeah, why not? And to kind of touch on that, we'll look at, just tax evasion at the top, right? The unreported income. And I'm sorry, for this graph, we're looking at unreported income as a percentage of total income by income percentiles, right? So right now, the top 1% earners account for a third of all unpaid taxes. So in this chart, we can see that the people in the top 5% income earners hide over about 20% of their income from the IRS, but they are also less likely to be audited. So take with that will you will. Number 5, you don't have to pay tax on cryptocurrency gain. T or F in the chat. That's false. Okay, so the IRS classifies cryptocurrency as property or a digital asset. Anytime you sell or exchange crypto, it's taxable. This includes using crypto used to pay for goods or services. In most cases, the IRS taxes cryptocurrency as an assets and subjects them to long-term and short-term capital gain.
Everybody got that one right.
Oh, cool. I didn't know. Okay, awesome. Number 6, you can pay all your self-employment taxes at the end of the year.
What was that laugh?
Oh, because I'm just always behind. I'm always like, I guess, okay, here's some more money. I'm really bad at keeping up with my taxes for the state.
All right, true or false? You can pay all your self-employment tax at the end of the year. Marcus says false. Kivanti says false.
That's kind
Anyone
of
else?
true. Oh, sorry.
True, but I think this is a Marcus answer because it really is both, right?
Yes, you can do it, but let me be the witness here. You can pay at the end of the year, but the rule is that you pay quarterly. So if you pay at the end of the year, you might be subject to penalties and interest. And I'm going to tell you that they're only going to give you back some of that money one time. The second and the third time you do it, they don't care that you don't know how to use the system. They're going to penalize you for it.
So Mignana says, I thought it was an unknown amount until, and that's true. That's why you're making an estimated quarterly payment, but you have to do it quarterly. You paid more. Yeah. You get paid interest, and the interest they charge you is really high.
Yes,
and
it
you
is.
also get fines and fees.
Mm-hmm. And they don't play about it. They will waive once if you request it, but second and third times they do not care. Getting married always allows you to pay less in taxes. True or false?
Got some guesses? Is getting married good for your tax bill? Anita says true. Anyone else? Anyone else guess? I know. I mean, Yana, I like your answer. I don't know. It depends on how you file and income amount. Marcus, famous both.
So, can I say something?
Please.
So,
Yeah.
so I was married for 4 years with my wife, and we filed separate. As you know, we didn't file as we was married, but but we didn't file as married. We filed single. That's why I said both.
Yeah.
So the
And
answer
the real
is
question is, yeah, false. I was going to say the real question is, Marcus, was your income close to each other? That's the actual, yeah. Let's watch a video.
Well, no, it wasn't. Mine was a couple tiers higher than hers, but yeah, because I was saving money and I was investing money, and even though my job was paying less than hers, I had a more increase with my savings and all my other stuff.
Yeah.
right. So we do have another video to explain kind of just this thing. And it's Dorothy A. Brown, and it's featuring Dorothy Brown. And Asa Griggs, Chandler, a professor at Emory University Law School and the author of The Whiteness of Wealth. So it's just a quick little clip, and it's going to kind of explain what that looks like. And sorry for the ad.
The future of trading is
La
here
la la
on
la la
Robinhood.
la la la.
Purpose built for how you trade.
This also Wix.
The future of trading is here on Robinhood.
Oh, see, they're listening to us.
Trade stocks,
They are.
options, crypto, and futures.
Crypto! Oh my God, I
One
can't
place.
believe it.
Is it gonna skip it? Okay.
Yeah.
So when you get married, a couple of things could happen. Your taxes could go up, your taxes could go down, or your taxes could stay the same. What my research showed, based on Census Bureau data, because it's really important for me to point out, the IRS does not collect or publish tax statistics by race. So we have no way of knowing the story I'm about to tell you if I don't do the research, right? So what you find is if you have a single wage earner couple where one spouse works full-time in the paid labor market and the other is a stay-at-home spouse, when they get married, they get a tax cut. Contrast that with a different couple where you have two full-time workers contributing equal amounts. They don't get a tax cut. And for a period of years, their taxes went up. My parents were that couple where because they were married to each other and their incomes were close together, they paid higher taxes. And where race comes into play is most married Black couples are like my parents, whereas most married white couples are like the other couple with a single wage earner household or one spouse earning significantly more than the other. So when white Americans get married, they tend to get a tax cut, but not Black Americans.
Great. I want to talk about some other examples of this, but let's zoom out a little bit.
Wix, one platform.
They are getting you income. They're getting you.
They are.
Those ads coming in and going out.
They are. I refuse to pay for it. Number 8, all homeowners benefit from the mortgage interest rate deduction. And I'm sorry, before we do that, yeah, true or false in the chat, please. Did the video make sense on what it looks like and how that kind of breaks down taxes for married couples? And if it did, just, throw a 1 in the chat if you learned anything. Great. If you have anything to share.
My grandparents always talked about this. They would say their kids were spoiled because they couldn't work like all the other kids. And they grew up in the Irvington area, so they were maybe 1 to 2 Black folks that were, own their homes in that area. And she would always say they're just so spoiled because they couldn't work when they were younger. So it makes sense that they would have to pay that money back in tax.
All right. So the question, all homeowners benefit from the mortgage interest deduction. Is that true or false? Marcus is saying false. I feel like people are afraid to put answers in now. It's okay if you're wrong. It's okay if you're right.
So, okay. So the answer is false. The mortgage interest deduction will only be given to the homeowners who finance their home and itemize their tax deduction. 90% of the MID's benefit or the mortgage interest deductions benefit go to taxpayers with annual incomes over 100,000, and 63% of those 63% go to those with annual incomes over 200,000. So in other words, the U.S. tax code provides significant benefits to wealthier and high income earners, and more often, just statistically, white homeowners.
Yeah.
All right.
It feels like that's politicized an awful lot because people say, well, I finally got to buy a home, so I want to be able to deduct my interest. And the fact is that the vast majority of us are not able to actually use that benefit. So it really is a tax break for the very wealthy, especially people that own more than one home.
Can I chime in on something?
Yeah.
Some of these homes you're buying, it's like buying a car. Once
Hmm.
once it's off the lot, the value go down. But the more time you put into your home, the value goes up. Just like how um like because I'm an early '80s baby.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my family lived in Northeast Portland, like by the Lloyd Center and by downtown. The the white race lived out towards Gresham. Now
Mm-hmm.
you see now how it reversed, and I was so upset with my grandparents. Sold their house to somebody, and they had a lot of land. And the guy that they bought it from, he tore down their house and put two triplexes on that land. So he's
What?
making over fist money, and the
Yep.
value is even 10 times or 6 times the worth. Even though the house that I'm in right now, in my parents' house, in 1995, they paid like over 100,000 for the house. Now this house value is close to 7 to 800,000.
Yeah.
But if we was taught this as a black community or any community, we will all be multimillionaires. It's a lot of stuff
That's right.
that they don't want to tell us in schools and all this other stuff. Even now in schools, they don't even teach cursive writing no more. I don't know why. I don't,
Mm.
but yeah,
It is. And
that's
a
it.
lot
You're
of
right.
things, too, we have to also acknowledge that this isn't new. Gentrification is not new. The way that this system is set up, it is working as it's designed to. Even if they taught us, they have found very many ways to still take it from us. And it continues to
Eminent
happen.
domain.
And not just here in Portland, but everywhere. And true, armed with the resources, the knowledge, and the tools, it could look a little different. But then also think about the force that we're going up against. And when they want it, they take it by any means necessary, whether that's not only you lost your house, you might have lost your life, or somebody else might have. You know what I mean? Like it is very much set up to keep the poor poor and the wealthy wealthy and keep that wealthy to 1% and not,
Yep.
they don't want 90% of us wealthy. Um, it's a hard pill to swallow too, to kind of just see it continue to happen. This playbook is not new. They've been doing it forever. Just it's the same playbook they used when they came to America. It's just now more centralized and localized. But let's talk about tax credits versus deductions. So, do we know the difference between a deduction and a credit, right? So, a deduction, these are amounts that you subtract from your total taxable income, which will ultimately reduce your taxable income. So, in other words, deductions lower the amount of your income that is subject to taxation. So, deductions lower your adjusted gross income, right? So, types of deductions taken on your taxes can be done in two methods. The first is the standard deduction. And for 2023, that standard deduction for a single person was 13,850. I'm not quite sure. I'm not up on what it is today. For a couple, it was 27,700. And then also note for children, the standard deduction is 1,100. And if you're head of household, I generally file head of household as a single mother. That would be at 20,800. This is what most people use, right? So then the itemized deductions are basically individual expenses allowed by the IRS that can decrease your taxable income. So these expenses could include things like property taxes, certain unreimbursed medical costs, charity donations, state or local taxes, and then CAF or 401ks like IRAs, student loan interest, or unreimbursed like business or moving mileage. If you have a lot of deductions, it helps to run those numbers both ways to see which deductions kind of work best for you and your situation. And then moving into tax credits, the definition of a tax credit is that tax credits directly reduce the amount of taxes you're required to pay. So if you owe 12,000 in taxes and you have a credit of 2,000, your tax bill would be 10,000, right? So eligibility criteria for some of the tax credits, they vary, but typically it's going to focus on like income limits, and credit amounts can change over time. So it's crucial to consult the most recent tax regulations or seek professional tax advice. But some of the types of credits would be the earned income tax credit, the child tax credit, which used to be, or it could still be, I haven't been able to get the full amount for a while, is 2,000 per child. And then there's the credit dependent education, which, okay, it takes two forms. So you can either do the American Opportunity Credit, which is about 2,500. And then there's the lifetime learner. These kind of help offset education expenses. But then there's also savers credits. This is meant to encourage people to save for retirement. And then there's premium for Obamacare purchased or not on the exchange. And then there's residential energy, which carries over. Oh, adoption is another credit you can get. It's approximately about 14,000 carryover. I don't know who's dealing with foreign taxes, but there's some stuff there. And as far as the earned income credit, just a little more info on that. You can claim it on your taxes by completing and attaching the Schedule EIC. If your EITC, which is the earned income tax credit, exceeds the amount of federal income tax you owe, you will receive the excess as a refund. This makes the EITC a refundable tax credit, which can provide a significant financial benefit to eligible taxpayers. In 2021, the rates for the EITC, which is again sorry, I just blanked out there. Why am I forgetting the name? I've said it 100 times. It's the earned income tax credit. Sorry about that. So the rates were this in 2021. If you had no qualifying children, you would get up to $538. If you had one qualifying child, you get up to $3,584. Two qualifying children would be 5,920. And then if it was three or more, you're going to get up to 6,660. Does anybody file and get that? Well, geez, why? Oh,
Can I ask you a question?
yes, sir.
Did you what about the what is it called, what had it, the art tax?
Ooh, I am so bad at this. I've like never paid
so
it.
so I can't say I hate the art tax, but growing up we never had the art tax.
Right.
So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about it?
I'm gonna let Suzanne talk about it because I have been very, very bad about. I've never paid it. I've never.
Yeah, and that might come back to bite you. I
It
assume it
might.
will.
Yeah, I pay
So
it every year.
the problem with the arts tax is not that it's an arts tax. It's not a particularly high amount, but it doesn't show up on a lot of software that people use when filing their taxes. So you think you've paid all your taxes, and it turns out, oh, there's this arts tax that's still out there that you have to pay separately because it is just a local tax. For if there's anyone in this class that is not in, I think it's a Multnomah County. It's either the city of Portland. So. It's a local tax. And they will find you and they will make you pay this. I also forgot to pay this, so I had to go back and pay it. And it's also, it's on anyone in the household. So it's like even my 18-year-old nephew was living with me and he had to pay for it. We were able to prove that he was no longer in the state, so he shouldn't have to pay for it. But just be aware that you need to make sure that you pay that. Now, I think this last year, TurboTax at least had it on there as part of their program. Did they, Tanisha? Do you know?
I did use TurboTax because I use QuickBooks Self-Employed. It all kind of translate over. I do not know. And let me actually add a little bit of a caveat. I'm 100% disabled veteran. I am only paying like taxes for my business. So I've never paid it, and I've sent in paperwork like, hey, I'm not doing it, and I haven't been called out. Don't let me get you in trouble, but I have never paid it.
Yeah, that is true. They do have hardship. You can go out and specifically ask for a hardship. Uh, I don't, what would you call that? So you don't have to pay it.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure, but it might have been on there, but you're right. It's not always on there. And then you will get
Yeah.
something like, hey, by the way, you didn't pay this. And
And
wait a
Mignana,
minute.
So I said because I didn't pay it for a couple of years, and they taxed me like I don't know what.
They're gonna get you
I
for
was
all the
pissed.
years.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I thought this was only supposed to be. I remember, so I moved back to Portland, probably 2013, and I remember it coming out, but I thought it was only going to be for a few years, but it's been
mm-mm.
about a decade
and
now. I didn't think it was a
and
permanent thing.
it is, and as Mignana has pointed out, it is also increased from $35 to $45. And I agree with you, Mignana. It goes to really great causes. We don't support arts in schools. We don't support arts in the community, and this is the only way that we're able to get it done. So, yeah, thank you for that information, Mignana. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And so
I'm not
we're
saying that I'm not against it. I'm not against it. We need it, but yeah, if you don't know about it, they're not going to tell you about
Yeah,
it. And unless it comes and you get a letter in the mail talking about I paid my taxes. Nope.
nope.
Mhm.
I will say this, if you don't pay it, which I experienced for a long time because I lived in Vancouver, but I still paid my taxes in Oregon, the penalties are almost like double.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's intense. So I just
Yeah, it's
politely
double and
paid the
triple.
600.
Marcus said, I know. I'm not laughing at you. Sorry, Marcus. That does hurt.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's a part of being an adult. Like
Fair enough.
as you have parents, they can only teach you so much. You just live off of your experiences. You're like, okay, I gotta do this. We're never taught to be adults. We are taught to be
You're
kids,
right.
and once we're thrown out to the world, like we are thrown out to the deep sea, and just you gotta just learn how to make it. Sometimes,
That's very,
and
very true.
yeah.
I did
Because I
want to say
always feel that. Go
also,
ahead.
the art tax was voted on. So
Yeah,
this
Mhm.
is
I
why it's
voted for it.
extremely important to read the voter mail and understand the registration of that because there will be another increase. And
Yeah.
you got to choose how you're going to vote.
Ain't that the truth? Okay, I don't want to keep you guys. We got about three more slides left. I want to get into some of these Oregon
So
state tax credit.
So
I'm
Tanisha,
sorry,
I
what?
can also cover some of this, like
Oh, go
we
ahead.
can cover this next week so we don't keep people over because I don't think we can get through it in three
In
minutes.
3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. We did this before too. This class, we tend to go over with this class.
Yeah, it's okay. So let's maybe skip past this and I'm gonna write a little reminder to myself. Uh, tax credits, this is slide 31. But let me go to the next one so I can get you guys this slide 31. Sorry. Okay, so keeping your what the freak? Sorry, 1 second. There we go. Tax tips. Keeping organized can save you headaches. I don't know how you're using or, keep what you're doing to track this now with your system. And especially as business owners, I'm sure that this is part of the headache or some headache while running your business. But just keeping your things organized can save you headaches. Keep an envelope for receipts, keep it next to your computer, just any kind of way to hold your tax information together. Filing options nowadays, most people file electronically. No, if you are using some online filing systems, make sure you keep an electronic copy because the system won't always keep it for you. I have been using TurboTax for a few years, especially since I started the business and I use QuickBooks and they kind of seem to go hand in hand. And that has been like storing a lot of things, but I always want to keep a digital copy and a paper copy. It's just maybe that type A for me. Deadlines, as we all know, April 15th is the deadline. We're kind of past that. I'm hoping everybody filed their taxes on time and we're able to take care of that art tax and it's all working out for you. If you aren't going to get your taxes in on time, you can file an extension so you're not penalized. But no, you will pay interest on anything if it's owed. If you're not paying your tax, I'm sorry. If you are paying your own taxes, make sure you file quarterly. No, small business owners do not have to pay taxes on owner's draws. And we might can touch on that later if you don't already know that. And then, okay, we've got some of that. We'll come back to that. Just on these last two slides, a call to action. Dive a little bit deeper over the next week. Just think about your values, the things that have shaped your money personality, your money mindset. We'll be covering a little bit more about taxes in our third class. So we'll also be able to have a look and take a look at how to take advantage of some of the investment tax benefits. So for next week, it'd be helpful if you pull a credit report and just know your credit score. You don't need to have a physical paper, but if you have it online or just somewhere where you can access your credit report and know your score. If you don't know how to do that, don't worry, we will go over it in class. But if you're using things like Credit Karma, Credit Siamese, that's a good place to start, or your banking apps can also have that information too. So thank you for being here. It is 8 o'clock. We're wrapping up. We're getting out of here on time. Next week, we're going to be covering more on, we're going to be covering more on taxes in our third class. Next week, we're going to be looking at credit and debt. And for next week, it would be helpful, like I said, if you have the credit report. If you don't worry. But other than that, that was the end. Thank you so much.
I'm going to send you out in the reminder 24 hours before next week's class. The link is exactly the same as you used tonight. I will send you the link to get your credit report, how to get your credit report. If you have not pulled one, that will be something you might want to do beforehand. You don't have to do it beforehand, though. I also wanted to point out that this weekend, there is a free website building class where you actually will go in and absolutely learn how to create a website, how to have a website. It's hands-on, in person, and it's free. So if you guys are interested in working on your website, either creating it from scratch or learning how to keep it updated, please consider attending that. We also, because we talked about taxes, on the 12th, we have our tax class. So the timing is incredibly good. If you want to take this class and you don't want to pay for it, you did a good job by showing up in this class because you get discounts in this class. So if you are interested in taking that class, go ahead and email me back. All those emails you get that are reminders are from me. So please ask me and I will sign you up. You don't even have to go to the registration page to do it. So when you close out of this, there's going to be a little survey that pops up. I would like you to please make sure you are grading Tanisha on this, not myself. Especially since you did the whole class. And that was great. And we will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Oh, there's a whole bunch of things in the... All right. Excellent. Thank you guys so much for coming. Really appreciate how much everyone participated tonight.
Yes.
Elisa, Frantice, I hope you guys feel better real soon. Okay. All right.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.